Hello everybody, Chef DeMarco here. Today's video is going to be about beef stock. Everything you need to know, the techniques, the methods, and the fundamentals of making a great beef stock at home. Thank you and enjoy. So let's get started. I start with cutting about 4 to 5 onions for the stock in half and then half again. This allows the surface area of the onions to get roasted fully, and I put them face down on a sheet tray next to me. The sheet tray has tin foil just so it's easy cleanup for afterwards. There's a huge controversy wrapping around whether you use the skins in stock or not. I suggest using every bit and piece of your produce. You want to utilize every little percentage for your yield. And stock anyway is to utilize all your resources, whether it's scraps, tops, bottoms, butts, heads of any sort of vegetable. And you can see there I have the onions just face down. Sometimes you can oil and salt your ingredients, but I find that it just adds the salt at the beginning instead of the end of the process, and you'll see why. Next is the carrots. I just start by cutting the carrots in thirds. Obviously they're washed, they're not peeled, and that just allows so the skin is utilized as well. You can keep the tops on as well. There's nothing wrong with the carrot tops. If they come with greens, use the greens in your stock. I find that the greens are good for plating afterwards, whether your dish is in a bowl, plate, anything of that nature. The carrot greens are very nice and they're very colorful, and they taste great as well if you're into that. So I have here about roughly, I would say 10 carrots again. I follow a ratio of 2 to 1 to 1. That's what I've learned is best for that. It allows so the stock is just full body and it's not just onion, carrot, or celery all by itself. Next I have the celery here. I cut in about 2-inch segments, I would say, and I keep the tops for afterwards after the roasting process is done for the first 45 minutes. I roast my vegetables at approximately 400 degrees in a roasting convection state in my oven. It allows just the browning process to go a little faster. If you have a regular oven in your house, you might have to go a little higher or a little longer depending on what you feel like. Next is the garlic. I start with whole garlic bulbs and I just take off the tops and the bottoms to expose the large outside of the garlic. You can keep all the skins inside as well. You're just going to be roasting it to get that deep flavor. Beautiful shot of the garlic I was using. So I have here a little closer shot of me cutting the garlic as well. I just cut the top off of this one, but you can cut the bottoms off as well. Everything is going to go in the stock at the end, but this is just the first process of roasting. The beef bones I have here are $1.29 a pound, and I got the local market. They're just regular sized beef bones, whether that's legs, hips, back, everything, spine, not the head though. I'm not into the head for stocks. And I just arrange them neatly on my sheet tray. So enjoy this B-roll of the bones and vegetables roasting in the oven. So the next step I do is adding tomato paste to the bones after it all comes out of the oven. Everything's nice and roasted and toasted. I add the tomato paste on the outsides of the bones just to add a little acidity and as well as a nice depth of flavor to your stock. You're going to be roasting the bones again after this step to add that deep, great tomato paste flavor that every stock should have, at least brown stock. You can use veal bones as well. I forgot to mention that in the first part of this video. Veal bones work just the same way. You're going to follow the same process, and it's pretty much going to be the exact same, but just with veal, and you're going to make a veal stock instead of a beef stock. But they're both a brown stock, so keep that in mind. So I just keep the tomato paste on the outsides or the exterior of the bones. There's no need to get inside the deep grooves of the individual bones. You're just wanting to have the outside covered so it gets a nice dark brown or almost black on the outside of the bones. So please be careful with your bones. This is also very warm, and you can tell by the steam that's going to accumulate on side of the lens. So I just use tongs sometimes, or a glove or two, to hold the bones while I paint the tomato paste on the outside of the bones. So once you get them fully covered, you're going to roast them again for another 45 minutes in the same oven. Like I said, I have a convection oven with the roasting option as well, so it doesn't take as long, but use a higher heat or a longer period of time to get that nice deep dark black color. Enjoy some B-roll of the bones cooking and what they look like after. So first we start by putting the bones in the 2-gallon stock pot. Obviously, if you have more bones in a bigger pot, you can make as much stock as you want. Obviously, for a home use, I think 2 gallons is just enough. And obviously, you have to have a place to store it. I put them in mason jars and then freeze them to pull them out for different uses as well throughout the year. Obviously, you don't want to keep anything longer than a year, but it usually gets used up before even 6 months to 8 months, in my opinion, for the home use. So why I put the bones in the bottom is so the ingredients like carrots, onions, and celery don't burn after 4 hours of cooking. And obviously I don't stir my stock, but I do give it a little wiggle on the stove top, and I use an induction burner. So you bring it to a boil and then you simmer it afterwards as well. And like I said before, I go for about 4 to 5 hours. Obviously overnight is more ideal, but you know, you want to sleep, you don't have to watch it the whole time. And the smell that comes off and the aroma in your house is almost unbelievable. If you have anyone over during this time, they're going to ask you what you're doing, and you just tell them, I'm making stock, man. So that's really nice when people come over and tell you that your house smells wonderful, and it's literally just making stock. It's one of the most simple things, and hopefully you can do it at home after you watch this video, just like I did. So I finished by putting all the ingredients, carrots, onions, celery, and the bones in, and then I add the garlic. And then from then on, I start adding all the other ingredients I want to put in my stock. So you want to be careful as well, once again, that everything's going to be very warm, very hot. It's been in the oven for almost an hour and a half now. So be very careful. Use tongs, use towels, gloves, anything of that nature. Obviously, I can deal with the heat. So next I start by putting some fresh thyme that is hydroponically grown very close to my house. And that's just going to add a full body herby flavor into your stock. I suggest using parsley, rosemary, herbs of that nature, nothing really heavy to change the flavor or dynamic of your stock. That also right there was just oregano that was hydroponically grown as well. It pays to have good herbs. If it's just lying around in your freezer or cooler or anything like that, throw it in there. It's going to add a deep flavor. Unfortunately, I did not have any parsley,
Totally fine. Next I add some peppercorns, just whole black peppercorns. You can use tricolor peppercorns or anything like that. You can use even grated or grinded peppercorns. I find that if you use whole peppercorns, it adds a nice deep peppery flavor. Next I just add some bay leaf. I love bay leaf in my stock. It adds really well. For about 2 gallons I add a couple, probably like 4 or 5, and then obviously the scraps from the celery just to put on top to get that nice deep celery flavor. And then I finish off with some salt, some Morton sea salt. Just a shout out to them. If you want to sponsor, let me know. Cheers. So enjoy the next B-roll after I fill it up with water, and that's just going to be a B-roll of it rolling on the stove. Thank you. So after about 4 hours, you're going to have your stock finished up. And then I just pour it through a fine mesh strainer into any kind of jug, jar, container you want to put your stock in to let it cool at least for a little bit before you freeze it in your mason jars. So you also want to be very careful. The steam on this is very hot and you do not want to burn yourself with the steam. It does not feel well. So here you see a second rewetting of the bones, also known as a remoulage for a second batch of stock.
Thank you for watching, guys. Hopefully you learned something. Check back tomorrow so we turn this into demi-glace. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good day.